The situation in Iraq is grave and deteriorating.
It is time to find a new way forward, a new approach.
I'm Katie Couric in Washington. The long-awaited Baker-Hamilton report is out, but will it give President Bush a way out? Tonight, as 10 more U.S. soldiers are killed in Iraq, we'll tell you exactly what the report is recommending. Jim Axelrod at the White House on the chances the president will accept it and change course.
We will take every proposal seriously.
David Martin at the Pentagon on if and how Iraqi troops could take over from the Americans. Americans like these who would be training the Iraqis. Byron Fitz is with them. And Cynthia Bowers with a military family who lost their son, praying that today is a turning point.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric reporting tonight from Washington.
Hi, everyone. The U.S. military confirms that 10 more American soldiers were killed in Iraq today, some in combat, others by roadside bombs. With each death, with every passing day, so many of us ask, is there any way out of this nightmare? Today, we got an answer from a bipartisan commission headed by former Secretary of State James Baker and former Congressman Lee Hamilton. The so-called Iraq Study Group has 79 recommendations. It says will not guarantee success in Iraq, but will at least improve the chances. The report presented to the president at the White House this morning tells him flat out his policy isn't working.
We do not recommend a stay-the-course solution.
The committee does recommend a new diplomatic offensive to end the violence in Iraq, one that would include Iran and Syria, something the president has rejected in the past. It would shift the mission of U.S. forces from combat to training and supporting the Iraqis as they take responsibility for their own security and allow U.S. withdrawal to begin. There's no timetable, but a goal of getting most U.S. combat brigades out by the beginning of 2008.
The United States must not make an open-ended commitment to keep large numbers of troops deployed in Iraq.
The commission sets milestones for the Iraqis to stop the sectarian violence and unify their country. If those milestones are not reached, the United States would cut not only military support, but political and economic as well. The report warns Iraq could be heading toward chaos that could bring down the government and set off a regional war. But it says there is still time.
The task ahead of us is daunting, but it is not by any means lost.
President Bush said he doesn't expect to agree with all the recommendations in the report, but
I will take it very seriously, and we will act on it in a timely fashion.
a team of CBS News correspondents around the world is covering what could be a watershed moment for Iraq. We begin tonight at the White House with Jim Axelrod. Jim, they've had all day there to digest this report. Do you think they'll buy it?
Well, Katie, there's a difference between taking it seriously and adopting it. I mean, from the outset, the president's aides have said he will not outsource his foreign policy. This report calls for several things that would force the president to alter his course, if not pull a 180-degree turn, and that hasn't exactly been a hallmark of this presidency to date. One other point here, Katie. This report was not written just for the president. It was written for Congress as well.
Okay, Jim, we'll be back with you in just a moment. But first, David Martin at the Pentagon tells us what the commission's recommendations for redeployment and reduction in troop levels would mean for the U.S. military. David?
Katie, even if most combat brigades can get out of Iraq by early 2008, tens of thousands of American troops would still be in the fight.
Both as trainers embedded in Iraqi units and as commandos conducting raids against al-Qaeda operatives. Former Defense Secretary William Perry says there should be a 5-fold increase in training.
Those can come out of the combat brigade that we now have there if the commanders in place determine that's the best way to do it.
The Pentagon is already planning to triple the number of trainers, and former Senator Charles Robb says that will be a big change in strategy.
It represents a clear break from the past tradition of being the principal combat unit to a role of combat support.
After 3.5 years of war in Iraq, the report says, This may be the only strategy the U.S. military is still capable of executing. There aren't enough troops left for a major buildup, and just maintaining the current level of 140,000 is adversely affecting Army readiness, something retired generals like John Batiste have been saying for months.
Right now, the military is in a crisis. It's underfunded, under-resourced, at a breaking point.
The report takes a swipe at Donald Rumsfeld, saying the next Secretary of Defense needs to repair relations between civilian and military leaders. That will be Robert Gates, who late today was confirmed by the Senate and is expected to take over on December 18th. Katie?
David Martin at the Pentagon. David, thank you. Another key recommendation of this commission is the creation of an Iraq support group involving many other countries, including Syria and Iran. The president has frozen them out to this point, so will there be a thaw? Heading back to the White House now. Jim, what do you think?
Well, Katie, according to the commission, there's going to have to be, because the change in military strategy only works if there's a change in diplomatic strategy.
You cannot look at this area of the world and pick and choose among the countries that you're going to deal with.
Recommendation number 9 suggests the United States should engage directly with Iran and Syria, something Mr. Bush has repeatedly rejected. Today, the administration seemed to draw limits on this idea of expanded diplomacy, at least with Iran, because of its nuclear program.
But I'm telling you that there may be a difference between one-on-one talks with Iran, which is something that we have ruled out.
And that remains ruled out?
Yeah, unless Iran verifiably suspends its enrichment and reprocessing activities.
But that does leave the door open for group talks. Iran is believed to fund and arm the Shiite militias, while Syria supports the Sunnis. The report is clear that the Iraqi violence requires both countries' involvement.
With respect to Syria, there's some strong indications that they would be in a position, if we were able to enter into a constructive dialogue with them, that they would be in a position to help us and might want to help us. We're talking not about talking to be talking, we're talking about tough diplomacy.
The report also concludes there will be no peace in the Middle East until the U.S. deals directly with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. That's an idea the administration seemed to be open to today. Katie?
Jim Axelrod at the White House tonight. This bipartisan commission, 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats, includes big names like Sandra Day O'Connor and Vernon Jordan, but the 2 men out front, former Secretary of State James Baker and former Congressman Lee Hamilton, sat down with me earlier today. Congressman Hamilton, I understand that you both agree with those who have said we're neither winning nor losing, but to describe the situation as grave and deteriorating sounds a lot more like losing.
It's certainly not winning. It's a very, very serious situation. We frankly don't know if we can reverse it.
Is it possible, Congressman, that even if all 79 recommendations are implemented, this thing is lost, that we could be at the point of no return?
Well, it's certainly possible. I really don't think it's likely. But you cannot ignore the possibility that the whole thing could come apart.
Can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
There is no guarantee, as Lee has said, of success, even if you implement all 79 of these recommendations. But there is an absolute guarantee of failure if we pick up and leave.
Your report says, in essence, even if the Iraqi government does not step up, the U.S. could in fact still step out. And add, quote, this is not an open-ended commitment. So, in other words, either way, the U.S. is out of there?
We're not going to win this militarily. It has to be won politically by action by the Iraqi government. If they don't take those actions, we're going to let them know if they don't take those actions, we could bug out of there.
So it is an ultimatum, in essence.
It's basically telling them the truth.
So are you both saying what President Bush said last week in Jordan, that U.S. forces will remain in Iraq as long as the Iraqi government wants them to, is wrongheaded?
No.
We don't think that's the way to phrase it.
But the president did make that guarantee.
He did make that guarantee, and I think he misspoke. We cannot turn over the control of American forces to the Iraqi government.
Do you believe this administration is really capable of admitting its failures and dramatically changing course?
What you're really asking me is, are they going to change course in this case, And I have to tell you, stay tuned. I don't have that crystal ball right now.
You don't have a crystal ball, but you must have a feeling.
I was pleasantly surprised to hear him say this morning what he said, and I think we all were. Does that mean they're going to do a 180, or does it even require a 180? I can't answer.
Were you surprised, pleasantly surprised, as Secretary Baker was?
I was pleasantly surprised with his openness as he talked to us.
Secretary Baker, today you said the government has to act urgently. What exactly does that mean?
What it really means is we have a damn difficult situation on our hands, and we need to deal with it. We need to deal with it as a nation. And we owe it to our young men and women who are on the ground over there and their families who are suffering these losses to deal with it appropriately.
And quickly.
And quickly.
Before the report was released today, the two chairmen set up a video link so they could brief Iraq's Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki. Elizabeth Palmer is in Baghdad. Elizabeth, how did the Iraqis take today's report?
Well, they may have briefed the Prime Minister, but nobody else in the government received an advanced copy. In fact, we at CBS News got a phone call from the spokesman's office asking where they could find the report on the Internet. So there's been no official response yet. The report does appear to bolster Prime Minister Maliki by giving him something he wants very much, and that is more control over the Iraqi security forces sooner rather than later. And he said that he's on side with the diplomatic initiative in the report. In other words, he will send envoys to the neighbors, Iran and Syria, to ask if they'll help in stabilizing Iraq. Katie?
Elizabeth Palmer in Baghdad tonight. President Bush will be meeting at the White House tomorrow with his chief ally in the Iraq War, British Prime Minister Tony Blair. I'll be talking with the Prime Minister as well, and you can see my exclusive interview right here tomorrow night. There is much more CBS News straight ahead. Coming up next, training the Iraqi military more important than ever. Will these American soldiers in Kansas get the job done?
That was my hunger, roaring at me all the time. Eat, eat, you're hungry, eat. I tried diet pills, exercise programs. Nothing worked. Then my doctor recommended the lap band system.
It's a device placed around the upper part of the stomach to help tame your hunger, and it can be adjusted to help you feel full faster and longer. Unlike gastric bypass, there's no stomach cutting or stapling.
I was back in my life in less than a week. I will never look like that again.
Visit lapband.com or call 1-800-391-7660 for your free information kit for you or someone you love. As with any surgery, there are possible risks and complications with the Lapband system, including, but not limited to, infection, nausea, vomiting, band slippage, and obstruction. Visit lapband.com or call 1-800-391-7660 for more risk information. Ask your doctor if you qualify for the Lapband system.
And tame your hunger once and for all.
When you're on the go, a dead battery's a big deal. You need pocket power, the portable, rechargeable outlet in your pocket. It's the power to travel, exclusively at Sam's Club.
Harry is a scratcher who keeps getting scratched. He needs maximum strength scalpicin, not a shampoo. Its clear formula stops scratching, which the itch medicine dermatologists recommend. Maximum strength scalpicin, the clear solution to a healthier scalp.
I have high blood pressure, but I was surprised to find out it might lead to erectile dysfunction.
You think you know everything about diabetes, but no one ever told me it could lead to ED.
So I talked to my doctor. He said that certain health conditions like high blood pressure
or diabetes may lead to ED,
and that Levitra can help.
Doctors know Levitra works for men with ED, even those with high blood pressure or diabetes. Levitra is only for men healthy enough for sexual activity. If you have heart problems or are on alpha blocker therapy, talk to your doctor before taking Levitra. Do not take Levitra if you take nitrates for chest pain, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Side effects may include headache, flushing, and stuffy or runny nose. To avoid long-term injuries, seek immediate medical help if you experience an erection lasting longer than 4 hours. If you have any sudden decrease in vision, stop taking Levitra and call your doctor right away.
Talking to my doctor took a lot off my mind.
You should talk to your doctor about Levitra.
The more you know about ED, the more you'll want to know about Levitra.
A Of the 79 recommendations made today by the Baker-Hamilton Commission, none is more important than shifting U.S. forces from major combat to training Iraqi troops to fight for themselves. That makes training the trainers absolutely critical. National correspondent Byron Pitts is in Kansas, where that's happening.
Enemy quadrant 1! Fort Riley, Kansas. Ground zero for America's new approach in Iraq. Train American forces to train Iraqi soldiers to defend their own nation. These 11-man teams will embed with 500-man Iraqi units. That means eat, sleep, instruct, and when necessary, fight alongside Iraq's new army.
Those security forces truly are at today's tip of the spear.
General Carter Hand says, unlike those military advisors scattered across Iraq in years past, these troops received 60 days of specialized training in linguistics, culture, and counterinsurgency.
Can you get it all done in 60 days?
No, we can't get it all done. We couldn't get it all done if you gave me a year.
Nonetheless, the Army needs them ASAP as sectarian violence rages in Iraq.
I get how you can train a man to fire a gun, watch a post. But how do you train a Sunni to work beside a Shia?
Part of the mission of the advisory teams is to be role models.
Role models in camaraderie and competence for a nation that's had a shortage of both.
Why would you volunteer for this mission?
Because this is, to me, it's really one of the only answers as far as an exit strategy.
An exit strategy. Send most American combat troops home by sending more American advisors into harm's way. Byron Pitts, CBS News, Fort Riley, Kansas.
For more perspective on this potential turning point in Iraq, we turn now to our Chief Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer and Chief Foreign correspondent Lara Logan. Lara, starting with you, you spent as much time with both U.S. and Iraqi troops in the field as any reporter. Is it realistic to expect that the Iraqis can be trained to a point where they can actually stop the violence?
My experience from talking to the commanders on the ground is that even more difficult than training is getting the Iraqi people to trust their own police and army. That has been even harder because they have been so heavily involved in the violence. They have to have the will to act against the militias and to act against the violence. And for the Sunnis, they see this predominantly Shiite security force as being their enemy in this civil war, and whether we see it as a civil war or not, that's how many Iraqis see it. And so they think that the U.S. is arming and equipping their enemy in this civil war. And these issues of mistrust are just as difficult as the issues of capability and will, and there are serious doubts as to whether this is going to be able to work, and those doubts are reflected in the Commission's report.
Meanwhile, Bob, there's been so much acrimony over Iraq. Can you really imagine a political consensus forming around this report?
Well, I think it may force that, Katie, because it takes away the president being able to say, the good news is not being reported, things are getting better. You have a bipartisan commission here that says things are not only bad, that they're getting worse. I think what you're going to see happen here is shortly before Christmas, the president will come before the American people. He's going to consider this report. He will consider other evaluations, other reports, and then he will tell us what he intends to do. He's not going to say that he's adopting the Commission's recommendations, but in fact, I think that is exactly what you will see happen. The bottom line here, Katie, you're going to see American troop levels begin to be cut next year. The president's going to do that. Will it work? Who knows? But I think at this point, he really has no other choice.
Bob Schieffer, Lara Logan, thank you both. And coming up next, that search for a man missing in the mountains of Oregon is over. And later, as America searches for a way out of Iraq, a mother wonders if her son died in vain.
Introducing new men's Rogaine foam. The first and only foam that's FDA approved to regrow hair. It goes on easy, then dries quickly. So now, getting your hair back could be the easiest part of your routine. New men's Rogaine foam. Use it or lose it.
attack that reduced how well your heart pumps. Your heart medications may not be enough protection. Adding cont'd to your current treatment can help prevent another heart attack. Cont'd reduces your heart's workload to help it pump better. Cont'd is FDA approved to increase your chances of survival when taken over time.
Cont'd is not for everyone, including people prone to asthma, certain heart rhythm problems, slow heart rate, or liver problems. Once you start Cont'd, you should continue as directed by your doctor. Patients who abruptly stop therapy may experience chest pain or an increased risk of heart attack. In some cases, patients may experience dizziness or faintness when starting Cont'd. You should avoid driving or hazardous tasks if this occurs.
Ask your doctor if Cont'd is right for you. Adding Cont'd adds cardio protection.
Nasal allergy symptoms like congestion can occur at any time, and it's hard to avoid the things that cause them. Prescription Nasonex helps relieve congestion and other nasal allergy symptoms. Maybe that's why 4 million nasal allergy sufferers used the Nasonex last year.
Side effects were generally mild and included headache, viral infection, sore throat, nosebleeds, and coughing. For more information, talk to your doctor.
Nasonex keeps congestion and other nasal allergy symptoms on the run, day and night.
That sure was neat.
They really made them drop. Oh, friends, them new breads, go workers by the store. A perfect gift so sure to lift the hostess right next door. Oh, give the gift of scratchers, give all more and more. Give the gift of scratchers.
Introducing Holiday Scratchers from the Virginia Lottery. 5 new fun-filled games. The more you give, the merrier.
La, la, la.
There is news beyond Washington tonight, including a very sad ending in the search for a man missing in the Oregon wilderness. The body of 35-year-old James Kim was found today in a mountain creek 2 days after rescuers found his wife and 2 daughters alive. The family car got stuck in a snowstorm 11 days ago. This past weekend, Kim set off on foot, promising to return with help, but he never made it back. The case of the former Russian spy who died of radiation poisoning last month is now officially a murder investigation in London. British police are now in Moscow to interview another ex-spy, Andrei Lugovoy, who met with Alexander Litvinenko in London the day he got sick. Lugovoy himself is in the hospital now, being treated for radiation poisoning. And from a whodunit to who knew, new pictures show there could be water on Mars. Not centuries ago, but right now. The photos taken from the Mars Global Surveyor show mile-long gullies that were not there a few years ago, suggesting water may flow onto the surface of the red planet. And where there's water, there may be life. Coming up next, a mother's grief that no words from Washington can erase.
When you're on the go, a dead battery's a big deal. You need pocket power, the portable, rechargeable outlet in your pocket. It's the power to travel. Exclusively at Sam's Club.
Here I come.
Want to look your best this weekend? Rent a car from Enterprise for 50% off. Friday to Monday, 50% off. Most cars, most weekends, most neighborhood locations. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
Are you like me? I have high blood pressure, and I have high cholesterol. Sometimes problems come in twos, but sometimes help can come in one. Kattowit. Kattowit contains the leading branded blood pressure medicine, Norvasc, and Lipitor, the leading branded cholesterol medicine, combined in one pill, Kattowit. Kattowit is one of many treatment options that I discussed with my doctor. Ask your doctor if Kattowit is right for you. Along with diet and exercise, one pill is doing 2 jobs for me. My doctor said Kattowit is not for everyone. It's not for people with liver problems and women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. To check for liver problems, you need simple blood tests. Tell your doctor about any heart problems and all other medications you are taking. Or if you experience muscle pain or weaknesses, they may be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. For blood pressure and cholesterol-lowering benefits, Kattowit. 1 pill, 2 medicines. Make sense to you? Makes sense to me. 1 pill, 2 medicines. Ask your doctor if Kattowit is right for you.
I try to do whatever I can to take care of my health. It's a very big part of who I am. So when I found out I had osteoporosis, I knew I had to meet it head on. Then my doctor told me about Boniva, how it helps build strong, healthy bones to prevent fractures with just 1 pill a month. And I thought, hey, I can do this. Unlike other treatments you have to take once a week, I only need Boniva once a month.
You should not take Boniva if you have low blood calcium, severe kidney disease, or cannot sit or stand for at least 60 minutes. Follow dosing instructions carefully. Stop taking Boniva and tell your doctor if you experience difficult or painful swallowing, chest pain, or severe or continuing heartburn, as these may be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
If you're as determined as I am to have strong, healthy bones, don't wait. Ask your doctor if Boniva is right for you. I'm so glad I did.
Once monthly Boniva. There's only one. Ask your doctor for a free trial offer or call 1-800-4-BONIVA. We are CBS 6. First, fair, everywhere.
When the story is written about what finally got the United States out of Iraq, it will have less to do with the Baker-Hamilton report than with this. The mounting toll that turned so many Americans against the war. More than 2,900 dead, more than 22,000 wounded. And in the heart of America tonight, Cynthia Bowers spent time with a heartbroken mother. She's asking why.
When the report was released, Connie Foytek was 700 miles away, on the job working for the water department in Skokie, Illinois. But like 2,900 other U.S. families, nothing they say or do in Washington can restore what she's already lost.
You get sympathy cards from presidents and senators and all that stuff with their deepest condolences. But you know what? Tomorrow another kid gets killed.
Like her son, 26-year-old Army Sergeant Craig Foytek was shot in the neck and killed on October 30th, 2 months after his unit was supposed to leave Iraq.
Most people think that, it's been a month, you should be doing better, but I think it's getting worse.
The grief so overwhelming she hasn't even been able to sort through the mementos that showed up at her Indiana home instead of her son.
I haven't gone through them until now.
I don't know why, but I just find it tremendously moving that his watch is still beating on.
Right, Dave.
At the time over there.
Yeah, these medals meant more to Craig than they did to me. There's a psyche.
And now, the mom who always supported her son, but never the war, hopes he didn't die in vain.
Do you feel like with all the debate that's been going on that sometimes people forget what the discussion is really about?
Yes, they do. They forget. And the worst thing is, my son is just another life to them. It's not their son.
Connie, whatever the outcome is here, how do you want Craig to be remembered?
I just want Craig to be remembered as the great person he was, He really wanted to come out.
Instead, she's left with her diary. She writes to Craig in it every night, hoping somehow he'll hear. Cynthia Bowers, CBS News, LaPorte, Indiana.
And that's the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric. I'll be back tomorrow again from Washington with my exclusive interview with British Prime Minister Tony Blair following his meeting with President Bush. Until then, thanks so much for watching. Good night.